Relationships are important in education. That really may be even the key to teaching well, is the relationship you have with a student. If you're able to touch their mind, fine, but if you can touch their heart, then the mind contact lasts longer and goes deeper, I think. Welcome to the World Peace Game. I'm very, very sorry, but you're going to have fun today. This is the World Peace Game, and it's about 28 years old. It's a political science simulation. And the game basically pits 4 or 5 countries against each other in every way, politically, socially, militarily, and economically. And they have to use their imagination, use their thinking skills to think their way out of these problems that they're pitched into head first.
It's a game that makes you think really hard. It makes you really think about what's really going on in the world.
What I think is you can't be all about war, and you can't be, again, this may sound bad, but you can't be all about peace.
Yeah, not like all like flowers and grassy fields and
Plus
solar panels.
They threaten you, Miss Williams, and your cabinet to destroy the refinery complex if they are challenged. I want it to be so thrilling that they don't want to do without it, but so challenging that they almost can't do it. That kind of tension is where learning occurs. They have that love and fear, and that learning just torques on that kind of mismatch.
There has to be a way we can use this. We have to figure that out. We can use this volcano, use this eruption to make something good happen.
If you look on the World Peace Game map, he has like that much oil.
So does Caden. And Caden's our complete ally.
I don't want to be a rebel.
He doesn't want to. We can make a treaty. First, I gave him 7 days to do something about the microscopic organisms, and he's now 2 days left, and he hasn't even boarded the island and tried to do anything about it, and I think he's trying to attack me instead of trying to do what he said he was going to do.
It's challenging. There is no right or wrong answer. If you wanted a right answer, choose the one that helps everyone and then think about yourself.
We've really had enough of people attacking. I mean, we've been lucky. I mean, the time, now I'm feeling really weird because I'm living what Sun Tzu said 1 week. 1 week he said, those who go into battle and win and will want to go back, and those who lose in battle will want to go back and win. And so I've been winning battles, so I'm sort of going into battles, more battles. And I think it's sort of weird to be living what Sun Tzu said.
I hope that they take away every creative thinking tool, every critical thinking tool they can, and they have a confidence that they can solve any problem, they can deal with anything. As I said to them today, if just one of you is in position to leverage something good for the world, you may save us all. And that's what I'm naively hoping might happen.
Well, I thought this was a black tie event, but I'm kidding. I just came, as you heard, from playing with the orchestra earlier, so that's the reason for the tuxedo right here. Well, thank you. But I'm David, and I'm going to talk about the World Peace Game. So the World Peace Game was a fantastic experience for me and my classmates. It absorbed me, and while I was playing, it was absolutely the only thing that was on my mind. Mr. Hunter grabbed our attention by giving us complete power and responsibility for the fate of the game. In this way, he had lessons sink in deeper than any other teaching experience that we could have, and lessons that would stay with us for the rest of our lives. I remember just recently I was reminiscing with my Secretary of State about strategies and options that we could have taken back in the World Peace Game, a game that we played 7 years ago. So that's an example of the way that Mr. Hunter gripped us, got our attention, and really was able to teach us so powerfully. So when we first started playing the game, crises would pop up left and right. In my eagerness to try to succeed and win, I would try to rush to solve these crises, each one faster than the last. Forgetting to sometimes consult with my cabinet and my allies, I'd make mistakes. I'd rush around the room as fast as I running to each person, trying to strike deals that couldn't be struck and trying to fight battles that couldn't be won. You saw me earlier in the video talking about my thoughts on the World Peace Game, and you noticed, I was rushing, trying to get the words out of my mouth as fast as I could, panting, trying to get everything out to everybody. And that was the way I conducted myself in the World Peace Game. I was very eager and very rushed. And in my impatience to succeed, I had actually made success far less likely for everybody. It was only when I slowed down and conducted myself with more care and more thoughtfully that I realized that we could find success. In this way, I learned that the world's dilemmas can only be solved with a lot of one quality, and that quality is patience. Now, while I'm appreciative of the lessons such as patience that I learned from Mr. Hunter in the World Peace Game, the true genius of the game was the way in which he taught us these lessons. Now, Mr. Hunter did not just stand at the front of the room and lecture us on the virtues of patience. He created a situation where we could make our own successes, but at the same time, make our own mistakes. He allowed us to go around and threaten airstrikes and invasions to other people in the class, but when we did this, we had to suffer the consequences. Because we were able to make and evaluate our own blunders, the lessons that he was teaching sunk in more deeply. This was the way that Mr. Hunter instilled these lessons in us. So there's something that I learned from the World Peace Game. Patience is a lesson that I learned from Mr. Hunter that I cherish and that I hope to keep with me the rest of my life. However, I believe the philosopher Jean-Jacques Rousseau said it best. Patience is bitter, but its fruit is sweet. Thank you.
Look, I wouldn't blame any of you for thinking that the idea of putting together a multi-level plexiglass board with sprinkled troops on them and then trying to teach a class of fourth graders is an insane idea. If you think that, you're not alone. I can remember being in one particular session and seeing the principal come in to the room during a particularly hostile negotiation period. And her face, she came in smiling, happy to see all the kids, and when she heard what we were saying, her face just utter disbelief. I can't remember what I said, but I remember coming off the bus after school one day, and every molecule in me was just jazzed, and I wish I could have remembered what I said to my parents because it can't have made any sense whatsoever. We would spend hours going over our dossiers and reviewing our budgets. All of recess and any other free time we had was spent discussing, who we were going to bomb next. We built a lot of connections that way, believe it or not. And when we finally won the game, it was pure exhilaration and a last-minute display of teamwork and compassion. Well, as you can see now, it's been a while since we've played the game, almost a decade now, and we're all a little more embedded in the real world now. And it's a lot scarier. It's a lot scarier of a place without someone as wise and as caring as Mr. Hunter to encourage us and say things like, I know you can do this, or more often in my case, Mr. Lee, I have my eye on you. I entered the real world after graduating high school. I had now work as a data analyst for an agency in Baltimore City called CityStat, where we measure and interpret data in an effort to improve the lifestyle in Baltimore City. One of the investigations I had to conduct into our solid waste department involved me going on a ride-along with a cleaning supervisor. His name is Donald Ross. He's known within his crew as Mr. Sunny. And you're about to find out why. As he takes me through East Baltimore, we're going through some of the worst neighborhoods in the city, vacant buildings. There are lots in the city where the trash comes up to your hip. And I say to him, I look at him and I'm in utter disbelief. I can't believe what I'm seeing. I'm from Charlottesville. I've never seen anything like this before. And I say, Mr. Sonny, I'm sorry. There's no solution to this. This is an unsolvable problem. And he starts laughing as he's driving along. He chuckles, and after a minute, he looks at me and he says, "Oh, I don't think that's the case. I've been working this job for 23 years. I know we can find an answer, whatever it is." I don't know all the answers to the world's problems. I'm young, and I have a lot to learn and a lot to experience. But even as time goes on and all these changes occur, I'm confident that that fourth grader that you guys saw today will stay with me, who doesn't see obstacles and believes in overcoming challenges. Everyone up here believes that world peace is achievable. And the difference that's going to continue to make a difference is that they still believe it today. Thank you.
So most of you are probably more familiar with the fourth grade version of me. The little girl who was always yelling at someone and getting in a fight with someone and was certainly by no means never going to compromise. So how did that little girl get here today talking at a TED conference about world peace? Well, there's one very specific gift Mr. Hunter gave me that made me who I am today. And that gift is hope. Hope that if I work hard enough and I have the right skills, there are no challenges in life I can't overcome. That's a pretty profound and complex concept to teach a fourth grader, especially one from my generation. My generation is stereotyped as being pessimistic, lazy, egotistical. But through the world peace game, Mr. Hunter took those same kids who could have easily fallen into that stereotype and created a group of kids who see it not only as a possibility to change the world, but as a responsibility. Mr. Hunter used to always tell us, my generation really screwed up the world, and it's your generation's job to fix it. So, when I got older and realized how horrible the world is and these problems that seem so awful, and how can this be real life, instead of deciding not to care, instead of thinking life isn't fair, the world isn't fair, there'll always be hunger, there'll always be poverty, that's the way it is, I thought, what can I do to solve these problems? What can we do to solve these problems? I feel a responsibility within myself to do something about it. Mr. Hunter created a group of kids who, instead of looking at the world's problems and becoming overwhelmed, are going to sit there and figure out how to solve those problems. A group of kids who are going to fix the unfixable problems. And that's what's going to change the world. It's teachers like Mr. Hunter who see the potential in each and every child. Teachers like Mr. Hunter who push kids to go beyond what they ever thought was possible. Teachers like Mr. Hunter who give kids the hope that they can change the world, but also teach them that they have to change the world. That's what's going to create a generation that's finally going to rise up and start fixing problems instead of staring at them. Because the problem in our society is not that we don't have the resources. It's not that we don't have the money, and it's certainly not that we don't have the knowledge. So we don't have the mindset. We look at these problems and they seem so big and so scary that instead of trying to fix them, we pretend like we can't. But Mr. Hunter taught me that's not true. You can solve the world's problems. You can have world peace. It's all possible. And because of that, I would like to thank Mr. Hunter for the greatest gift anyone has ever given me, hope. Now, ladies and gentlemen, John Hunter.
Great to see you, Mr. Hunter.
Is there any wonder that we have hope? I've never had so much fun. Seeing Brennan do an imitation of me, that's better than the one I do of myself. You know, I say when I give a talk that I'm here on the behalf of greater teachers than myself. I stand on the shoulders of teachers who taught me, beginning with my parents, and who are even here now and have made it possible for me to be here. Each of those students has a lineage of teachers and parents, and they're standing on their shoulders. We're all supported by the great, amazing work of people who sacrificed, who gave up so much and paid so much attention and gave us so much care that we could survive. A parent looking away from a child for even an hour, the child might not survive. So such care has been given to so many of us. And that is a beautiful reflection I see in them today. I'd like to say that they've taught me. The students have taught the teacher, I think primarily interdependence, that we're all completely interconnected. Everything that happened in the World Peace Game when they wanted to have an invasion or a bombing, the consequences revealed to them that everything has a deeper connection. I didn't have to teach it. I didn't have to preach it. The secret is I didn't even know what was going on most of the time. And that's the beauty of the game. You can allow the students in their own wisdom collectively to develop and create a solution that I, the teacher, could not have imagined. I have to surrender every time I play that game and take myself to the side to allow that wisdom to come out, rather than thinking that I know the answer and I will tell you what it is. I would stop their preparation for the future if I tried to tell them the answer. You know, back in the 1980s, if you had told me I would be teaching on something called the internet, and I would be using apps, and my students would be on Facebook. What is a book with a face? I don't understand. I could not have been prepared to do it. Teachers, educators are trying to do something that's impossible. They're trying to prepare students for something they cannot imagine or see. We might never live to see what they're going to face, yet we're charged with preparing them to deal with it. How do we do that? We try to inspire them to build open-ended tools of critical and creative thinking so that any problem, any situation, they can practice in a crucible like the World Peace Game and come to feel that they can indeed handle anything. That feeling of confidence, they can handle anything they feel. I used to think that when I first started teaching, there was a killer app. We didn't call it apps back then in the 70s. But I used to think there was a way, a method, a policy, a program, a technique that would come to teachers, we could use it, and it would solve our problems. It would fix the children. They would all have high IQs and whitened smiles, and everything would be fantastic. No achievement gaps. The policy would fix it. And I've been teaching for close to 40 years. I've seen policies come and go. Policies are like weather, I see. When it's cold and dark outside, you hunker down and you wait till it's over. When a policy is sunny and warm, you take the best from it and you make the best of it. And veteran teachers told me, Hunter, you're going to see so many policies come and go. And they're usually coming from people who are not educators. They're making policy for you, the expert, to implement. So you learn how to work with that weather system, she said. You learn that the real essence of a classroom, despite the changing weather over decades, is the relationship between the teacher and the student. No matter what else happens, that's the essence of it. It's really very simple. And so I realized there is no killer app. There's no policy or program, in my experience, that's ever going to save us, fix everything. So I stopped deluding myself, and I started to realize the only thing that will work is what's right in front of me, the collective wisdom of the children and the relationship you have with them as an educator. And teachers cannot do this without the support of visionary, caring, and trusting leadership. An administrator you can turn your back on and teach and feel safe and know you're protected, and you can teach and be your best and do your best for that child. So now I think what I'm here to do really is to pass on the torch. My time is almost at end. I've had a long career. The twilight is here. And a great dawning horizon is coming. You can see it. We try to say, how do we assess learning in things like the World Peace Game? I look at those 3 students and thousands more like them now. And I realize assessment is not in a single test. No multiple choice test can tell us what's going to happen. Assessment is not a unit's test, a semester's test. A year of bubble sheets won't tell us. What I think I've found is over time, the assessment is in who they become as individuals, the quality of people, the kind of person, the compassion they expressed towards others and towards themselves. That, to me, seems to be the true purpose of education, and I hope the true purpose of the World Peace Game. Thank you so much, Charlottesville.